Spring break was supposed to be bikinis, parties, and followers, but for the girls of Delta Phi, glamping at Stardust Court turns into a living nightmare in a twisted paradise of themed trailers and Nazi medical atrocities. The sorority sisters must fight for their lives against monstrous killers.
What's that? You want to be scared? Come with me. You will experience tales of horror, ghosts, and death. It is not recommended for the weak at heart. Listen in the dark. It's more fun that way. This is Weekly Spooky.
Hello, my spookies. It's Wednesday, and you know what that means. It's time for a little spooky in your weekly. I'm your host and narrator, Enrique Couto, and tonight's story is yet another twisted tale from the mind of David O'Hanlon, the man behind the Babysitter Massacre book series, and many monstrous episodes of this very show. But before we get to that, I want to say a humongous thank you to you out there listening right now, because you see, the spookies listening right now are a special breed who love the scary Halloween vibes even as the weather turns beautiful. The sun is out, the birds are chirping. You, my dear spooky, still want those chills running up and down your spine, even if the weather is nice and hot. So thank you, and make sure you're subscribed if you haven't already, and consider leaving us a 5-star rating on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, because it really does make a huge difference for the show. And if you love what we're doing and want to support us and get even more Weekly Spooky, go to weeklyspooky.com/join. For as little as $1 a month, you get a bonus episode every 2 weeks and almost 5 years of bonus creepypasta stories and audiobooks, all at weeklyspooky.com/join. But now, as for tonight, spring break is supposed to be a time for fun, parties, sunshine, and a little harmless trouble. But sometimes when you leave the safety of the world you know, you find yourself somewhere different. Tonight's story is about a group of girls who thought they were going to have the time of their lives. They signed up for a weekend of glamorous camping, or glamping, at a quiet little place called Stardust Court. But they didn't know Stardust has some very strange traditions. So get ready to pitch your tent as we tell this story after this. SS Death Glamp by David O'Hanlon. Spring break, bitches! Ivalise shouted from the sorority house balcony. She held the selfie stick up to show off the crowd below and the new tits Professor Binderman bought her for Valentine's. He gave his wife a crockpot. Ivalise flashed a peace sign and rolled her eyes back in the trademark-pending Ahiego face to sign off. She pulled the phone from the stick and tucked it into the waistband of her leggings. She clenched her teeth, taking deep breaths through her nose before turning to her sisters below. She manifested a smile like witches conjure demons. "Becca, what are you wearing?" Her melodious voice made the question sound benign, like sugar frosting on brass knuckles. "I just announced that it's spring break to like 1 million followers. This is the sexiest time of the year. It's like Christmas for middle-aged men, dilfs, and sweaty guys named Chuck. They're expecting slutty co-eds on all our socials, and you're wearing a goddamn sweater." "It's still a little chilly this morning," Becca muttered. "Good, your fucking nipples will show," Ivy hissed back. "Nips are the difference between a lame-ass thumbs up and a fucking heart react." We are Delta Phi. We are the NCAA champions of causing premature ejaculations, not some Ukrainian brothel. You look like someone's grandmother. We're handing out hard-ons, not hard candies, Gertrude. Now ditch the sweater, shake out that messy bun, and give our subscribers a reason to renew their Blue Chew subscriptions. There was a reason they called her Poison Ivelisse. She stormed inside and rolled her eyes at the other senior sorority sisters. The social media blitz had been her idea, so she got to be the face of the program. It had been a huge success for the sorority as a whole, but Ivelisse still wasn't getting the attention she craved. Despite all evidence to the fact, she refused to believe it had anything to do with her personality. She picked up the brochure from Stardust Court. I can't even with these freshmen, she growled. That Becca bitch is hopeless. We should have never let her in. Vanilla is still a flavor, Sasha said while applying her eyeliner. People like that mousy schoolgirl look, and it makes the rest of us look hotter. Why are you doing this Stardust shit? Ivelisse asked, hoping the answer had changed since the last time she brought it up. Come on, spring break at a trailer park? You'll be able to get back to your roots, Nina quipped. By the way, they're showing. Ivelisse crumpled the brochure in her fist and stiffened. Nina smiled malevolently, waiting for a response. Ivelisse might have been the defending champion of bitchiness, but one wrong word towards the handy-capable Nina would mean she was out on her ass with no degree and her social presence canceled. Ivelisse had been bullying her endlessly since the dean demanded all the frats and sororities diversify their ranks, but all that changed when she got caught calling Nina a retard on camera. The school was ready to give her the boot then, but Nina wanted them to give her a second chance. Humiliating the bitch was going to be way more fun. And Nina was doing great. Nina became the first fan tasty model with Down syndrome and surpassed Ivelisse's subscriptions by 10,000 in the first 6 months. When Ivelisse sucked an F into a C- for English, Nina won an independent publishing award for her poetry. Ivelisse got Homecoming Queen. Nina got Miss Ohio. Every chance Nina got to one-up her sorority sister, she took, and almost always came out on top. Sasha sighed and turned on her stool. She'd seen enough of these standoffs to know how it was going to go. After last year's incident, the dean thinks we need to do something else. Something... She flapped her hands in exasperation. Less collegiate. What does that even mean? Ivelisse scoffed. Like no club stuff this year, Ivy, Sasha said. The dean said last year all we posted was us making out with strangers and drinking. Cap! We totally introduced ourselves to those guys, Ivelisse countered. And we did lots of drugs, too. Yeah, it was very on brand, Nina said. The dean knows what goes on, but she wants us to show Delta Phi has depth other than your throat. No clubs and frat houses this time. I didn't hear you complaining about the frat houses when you were riding Justin Blake's beef bus to Downstown, Ivelisse spat. I'm not spending our spring break camping in a fucking trailer park. It's not camping, Ivy. It's glamping. And it isn't a trailer park, Sasha corrected her. Each trailer is themed, which will make our videos stand out. There's also a pool, which means bikinis and wet t-shirts. Those videos get 83% more interactions. 85 if Nina's in them. Plus, the owners make their own cosmetics and boutique soaps, and they're offering us a cut of any business we swing their way. Great. Hillbilly body wash, Ivalise huffed. The fresh scent of cousin fucking with a hint of Marlboro Light. Does it come with a raccoon tail loofah? We are not doing this. Nina watched excitedly as Sasha rose from the stool. Ivalise's cocky smile slipped and she fumbled the recovery, settling into a neutral pucker like a kid that just pissed in Santa's lap. You might be the face of the sorority, Ivy, but I'm still the president, Sasha said calmly. You will be going glamping with your sisters, and you will be hyping the Stardust cosmetics line with a big fucking smile, douche queen. You're going to do giveaways and grab bags, and, if I deem necessary, you'll lather up the freshmen with their soap and shout, "Yee-haw!" Because if you think I was a bitch when you were a pledge, just tell me what this sorority will and won't be doing again. Yeah, Ivalise whispered. Like, whatever is fine. The audience doesn't care where we look hot at anyway. So, let's go glamping. That's the spirit, Sasha purred as she slank back into her seat. We leave in an hour. The rest of the girls will follow tomorrow.
Don't go away. Weekly Spooky will be right back.
Sasha pulled the Range Rover onto the long stretch of gravel that led to Stardust Court. Ivalise rode shotgun and cast a hateful glance to the rearview mirror. Nina sat in the back with Becca and Daphne, the only one Ivy liked, if you could call it that. Delta Phi got plenty of ad revenue, but this was their first opportunity at a real endorsement deal. Sasha had handpicked what she called the raiding party to make sure they were ready to make the most of it. The fact that her choices pissed Ivy off was a bonus. They needed to make the Stardust cosmetics line look good, and Sasha knew everything about looking good. I thought I told you to lose the sweater, Ivalise said. I did, Becca corrected her with obvious confusion. This one's blue. That one was teal, and I took my messy bun down. You put it in a different type of bun, you fucking librarian, Ivalise huffed. Jesus, you look like you masturbate with the lights off. And under the covers, Daphne added. Becca squirmed in the seat. Nina nudged her with her elbow, signaling Becca to say something back. But the film student just sagged her shoulders and melted into the leather. We're here, Sasha said. The gravel path left the woods behind and opened up into a picturesque clearing dotted with 18 campers and single-wide mobile homes from the 50s and 60s with eye-catching paint jobs, including murals on several. White rock trails led from each and joined a circular central hub surrounding a large pool. Lawn ornaments and furniture around the domiciles matched the themes of each. An airstream painted like a mushroom had a contingent of gnomes guarding it, while butterflies seemed to flutter around them as if they were trained for it. Another had plastic flamingos in the yard next to a grill and retro lawn chairs. A wooden cigar shop Indian stood on the porch of a trailer home with a desert motif painted along its sides. There was a castle-themed one with a stone horse in the yard, and a barnyard one with hay bales and a miniature windmill. We should call the others, Becca said, perking up at the sight of the place. We can get them to bring props and costumes. And boys, Daphne said. Calm your clam, Sasha snapped. We are not having a redo of last year. No drugs, no practical jokes, and no guys. Just because charges were dropped doesn't mean the case is closed. One freshman has an aneurysm, and you turn us into a convent, Ivy muttered. If you get horny, you can squat on a gnome, Sasha shot back. I call dibs on the Wild West trailer, Daphne smiled stupidly, which was how she did everything. It goes with my cowgirl hat. You brought a cowgirl hat? Nina asked. Always, Daphne pushed her breasts together. Cleavage plus cowgirl hat is like the most important equation in life. Free drinks everywhere I go, plus I never get speeding tickets. I even brought up my credit score like 100 points in a weekend, thanks to that hat and the cutest little juicy tank with, "That is one big bitch," Sasha said, interrupting Daphne's TED Talk. The proprietor of Stardust Court sauntered onto the porch of the farmhouse, turned guest center. The 89-year-old woman looked barely out of her 50s. Her long blonde hair showed no signs of gray as deep gold curls shined vibrantly in the sun. Her skin was still taut and her makeup looked professionally done. Black liner drew attention to her eyes as blue and cold as Antarctic ice. Delta Phi would have no problem selling her cosmetics. More impressive than her age-defying looks was her proportions. Standing 6'1" with full breasts and broad shoulders that made her waist look even tighter, she moved down the steps to greet her guests with the stature and grace of an empress descending from her throne. "She could play for the Cavs," Daphne whispered. "I bet she wears a strap-on everywhere." "Since no boys are allowed, you better hope so," Nina told her. The sisters got out of the SUV to meet their host. The woman prowled across the immaculate gravel and extended her hand to Sasha. "Greta Spitz," she said, with a slight German accent. "Be more popular if Greta swallowed," Daphne snickered. "You'd know," Becca whispered. Greta looked at them suspiciously, her smile wavering but never disappearing. She circled the 5 girls, assessing each the way a lioness picks the weakest of the herd, before pouncing. She pinched Daphne's exposed midsection. "So petite," she said, moving to Nina. "I had anticipated a larger group, given your social media presence. 5 is a bit underwhelming." "That's why we're here," Ivy said, putting an arm over Daphne's shoulders. "Quality over quantity." "Quality is very important to me." Greta turned to Becca, who stood almost a full foot shorter, and lifted the co-ed's chin to examine the lines on her face. Then she turned her attention to Ivalise. "Though I see the definition is open to interpretation." "The other sisters will be here in the morning," Sasha explained. "Becca is a film student. Her and I are going to come up with a list of shots that really showcase your place and hype Stardust Cosmetics." "That sort of thing is beyond me," Greta said. "Please pick whichever cabins suit your tastes and settle in. I'll leave the 2 of you to your Filmenmachen." "Danke," Becca said, softly. Greta looked at her curiously. "My great-grandpa was from Germany," she explained. "I'm going to get unpacked. I can't wait to get started." Greta walked to Daphne again, curling the sisters' red locks around her fingers. "Perhaps while they are busy, you might like to come inside to try the line." "Do you have something that'll go with a pink cowgirl hat?" Daphne asked. "Trust me, dear." Greta chewed her bottom lip. "I know precisely what your face needs. Go make yourself comfortable, then come to see me at 6. They watched the hostess walk back inside. Becca was already hauling her bags to the trailer with the gnomes. "Ivy, tell the freshman to take my stuff to the one with the flamingos when she's done moving into Smurf Village," Sasha barked. "I'm going to take some videos around the camp." "OMG, Ives!" Nina gasped. "They have the perfect themed trailer for you, too." "Oh, never mind. That's the porta potty. Maybe they have one with a stripper pole, though, or an abortion clinic theme." "You two knock that shit off," Sasha snapped. "Delta Phi is a brand, and you two are the tits of that brand. So if you want to keep fighting, do it in the pool in your swimsuits or in a tub of baby oil. Put it to use or put it to rest." Sasha stormed off. We should have gone to the beach, Ivalise growled. There's enough plastic in the ocean. Nina flicked Ivy's nipple on her way by. Fucking bitch.
You're not safe yet. Weekly Spooky will be right back.
That is no good. Greta paced the attic. Do you see? A grunt answered from the far corner. Bath Boutique is giving us a display in 1,000 stores. It is a substantial order, and with Mother's Day around the corner, there will be more to follow, Greta said. And this is what I have to work with. 2 of them are usable. The boring one, maybe. It is hard to see with that stupid sweater. Diversity Barbie and the ginger, though. 9. Stupid little girls and their snatched waists. Low-carb booty boot camp bimbos. Greta spat in disgust. The hidden figure returned the gesture. Stock like theirs will not be enough to make quota, let alone build our inventory. If they're all this scrawny, we may need to take more drastic steps. A high-pitched squeal responded. This country throws away 40 million tons of food a year, and I get these twigs, Greta said. Prepare for tomorrow. The redhead is of no use to our business, so I've arranged for her to come here tonight. You may keep her for your entertainment. Your old dolly is ready for the waste bin. A happy shriek of thanks came from the darkness. Greta nodded to a dead body on a pillow-top mattress. Bones showed where the flesh had rotted or been bitten off. Only tufts of hair still remained on its broken skull, and one leg lay disconnected from the shattered pelvis. I forgot how hard you fuck, mein Bruder, she purred. King Arthur and the Knights of Camel Toe, Ivalise huffed. She'd always wanted to be a princess, so the medieval-themed camper seemed a natural choice. Laying nearly naked on the faux fur bedspread, staring up at the mini chandelier of antlers, made her reconsider her aspirations. Electric candles provided little light that twinkled annoyingly on the suit of armor that stood ready to be cucked in the corner, except they hadn't been allowed to invite any guys along. Not that it would have been much more fun. The bed was barely larger than a cot, and the community shower was all the way around the other side of the guest center. Ivy went to the fridge, rolling her eyes at the wooden facade. It definitely wasn't stocked for the girls of Delta Phi. Pale ale and a glass pitcher full of water. She pulled out the pitcher and opened a cabinet to find cheesy plastic chalices. Of course, she muttered. This place should at least come with a serving wench or a court jester. A gentle rap on the door startled her, and she fumbled the goblet which bounced pathetically on the countertop. Ask for a fool and Becca comes a-knockin'. This better be important, bitch. Ivy went to the door and shoved it open, hoping to hit the geek square in her boring face. Whoa! The man dropped off the steps and almost fell before righting himself. He smiled at her. Damn, I still can't believe how great Dr. H's work looks on you. Neil? Ivy covered her bare breasts with her arm. What are you doing? It's not what I'm doing. Professor Neil Binderman practically skipped up to the top step. It's what I've done. Let me in and I'll tell you everything. He didn't wait for her to comply and used his tubby body to move her out of his way as he pushed into the medieval-themed trailer. The history professor looked around and paled. This is absolutely terrible, he said. Kevin Costner playing Robin Hood levels of terrible. It's just a hodgepodge of centuries and cultures. Is that a plastic chalice? Neil, focus. Ivalise didn't shut the door. You can't be here for at least 3 different reasons. You need to go. I will, he reassured her. But I had to come tonight. You've got 2 hands and a wife that could have handled that, Ivy said. No, that's not what I mean, he shrugged. But I am already here, and you are dressed for the occasion, so we might as well. Not happening, Neil. Ivy pointed to the door. Now get out before Sasha sees your car. I've parked down the road and walked the rest of the way, he said with growing excitement. You have to know what happened tonight. I did it, Ivy. I finally did it. Did what? I was eating dinner, he said. 3rd Mississippi pot roast in 2 weeks. I never should have given her that goddamn crock pot. Anyhow, I'm 4 bites into the same mediocre meal. My son is sitting there looking like he went bobbing for apples in a tackle box with all that shit stuck in his face. His sister's scrolling on her phone, cracking up over dumb kids doing dumb dances. My mother-in-law used to do donkey shows in Tijuana, and I swear that's where my wife and daughter got their laugh from. Would you get to the point? Ivy looked outside suspiciously. We're going to get caught. I'm getting there, I promise, he laughed. Millie was just sitting there, shoveling food in her mouth and giving us commentary on the recipe like any of us give a single shit. She'd finish a sentence and I'd watch her chins wiggle a few seconds longer, and that's when I did it. Oh, fuck me, Ivy groaned. I plan on it every night now, because I did it. He grasped her wrists with a soft, sickly squish of accumulated palm sweat. I stood up and told her I was leaving her. I ran out to the car and drove straight here as a free man. Ivy, we can be together now, officially and publicly. You're still a Shit. Tell me you didn't. It's too late in the evening, but I left the dean a voicemail telling her my plans. You dumbass! Ivy shoved past him and poured herself a chalice of water. What were you thinking? I'm on the verge of stardom. When I graduate, I'll be traveling the world and doing big things like influencing and stuff. And we can do it together. Neil lowered himself carefully to one knee. We can do it all together now.
Did you hear that? Better check the locks on your doors. Weekly Spooky will be right back.
Ivy jabbed a finger towards him and leaned in so the point pressed into his bulbous nose. She shook her head slowly. Don't you fucking dare, she warned him. For starters, you didn't have time to even get a ring. You also don't have the taste to pick one out. Then there's the small issue that it would never, ever happen. But what we have, Neil stammered in confusion. This is something special, Ivy. Not remotely. She slid her panties to the side to give him a quick look that drew an immediate squeal and shudder from him. It's drier than your wife's fucking roast, Neil. I can fix that. Not without Astroglide and Bacardi, she scoffed. You think you're the only teacher I needed a passing grade from? Jesus Christ, how do you think I got accepted in the first place? We have football players guaranteed to get drafted. Probably just to the Browns, but still going to be way more famous than a former history professor. I'm not some fucking YouTuber, Neil. I make more in a month selling my bathwater than you do all year. I'm even huge on Twitch, and the only game I know how to play is Tetris. Apparently, it's not the only game you know how to play, he whimpered, rising slowly and backing to the door. I love you, Ivy. I can make you happy. Wow, Neil. Delusional much? Ivy snickered. You got a 42-inch waist and an 1.5 inch cock. I don't think it even got deep enough inside me to count as fucking. You can't provide for me, you can't make me look good, and you can't make me orgasm. How are you going to make me happy exactly? Do you know a lot of good jokes? Or is this proposal the only one you got? Get the fuck out of my glamper. Daphne skipped into the parlor and spread her arms wide. Ta-da! What do you think? She asked Greta with a phony drawl. Wunderbar, Greta answered blandly. You'll need to remove the hat for me to put on the makeup. Oh, totes. I just wanted you to have, an appreciation for what I'm doing. See, I can wear this and show off that trailer I'm in with all the Wild West stuff. Insta is going to flip. They love cosplay on that app. So this is like that kinda with the hat and the cutoffs. I texted Sarah. She's one of the sorority sisters that's coming tomorrow. And she's bringing me her muddy girls so that I can complete the ensemble and do this whole white trash couture thing. If I do a little reverse cowgirl grinding on a pillow, sis, there will be so many bids for that pillow on WhatsApp tonight. I'll cut you in, of course, since it's your pillow. Greta walked over and flipped the hat off Daphne's head so it hung by its drawstring. She gestured to the makeup chair. Please, take a seat, she said. Right, sure. Daphne giggled all the way to the chair. Oh, darn it. I should have taken off my old makeup first. There is no need, Greta said reassuringly. Oh, do you have, some kind of fancy makeup remover too? Yes. The spiked truncheon smashed through Daphne's face. Why don't you do something about Ivy? Becca asked, carrying the margaritas to the back of the Floridian trailer while a Beach Boys 45 spun on the turntable. Because I'm the president, Sasha said, sitting on the edge of the bed in her Vuitton robe. It's my job to put people in their place. It won't mean anything if I do it. If you don't want Ivy throwing punches, then stop acting like a punching bag. Sage advice. Becca handed off one glass and sipped from the other. I'm not built for that. I don't know how to be mean. No shit. Sasha took a gulp and moaned appreciatively. Fuck, that's good. Power is being able to take more than the other person is willing to lose. If you want Ivalis to stop fucking with you, then put up with her shit for a few more months, and when all the new little freshman girls come titty-bopping into the house, that's when you stand up to her. Make her look bad in front of all of them. That's the thing Ivy isn't willing to lose. It's not just the mean part, Becca sighed. Being aggressive, taking charge, I don't know how to be assertive. Then I guess you need to start practicing. Sasha uncrossed her legs and teased the hem of the robe up her thigh. School's in, Bex. Chug that glass of courage, then get over here and take charge. Bend me to your will, and any other ways you want. It's your game tonight. Practice makes perfect, I guess. Daphne's head bounced off each step as Greta effortlessly dragged her up the stairs to the second floor. Greta took a moment to pop her knuckles and adjusted the crumpled cowgirl hat on her blonde locks before going up the last flight to the attic. The corpse groaned as the steep staircase beat stray air from her lungs. Greta pushed the door open with her foot and slung Daphne in with a flourish. Ta-da! What you think? She said, mocking Daphne's earlier accent. She tossed the hat over Daphne's face and spat. Operation Paperclip my foot. Papa should have followed the Führer to Argentina. But no, he makes us come to Ohio because the science is more important. Look where the science got us, Papa. Look at Bruder. Black drapes blew in the evening breeze around the open veranda doors. Leg mich ein Arsch.
More scares to come. Weekly Spooky will be right back.
Professor Binderman sat behind the steering wheel, sobbing as he scrolled through Ivy's nudes. Snot spread across the whiskers of his mustache and dripped onto the phone. He rubbed it off, causing the phone to scroll through the pics rapidly. He watched them flicker like the Wheel of Fortune wheel. It slowed, stopped. Jackpot. He threw his head back and let out a baleful cry. At least he still had something to remember her. She may not have loved him back, or even liked him at all, but that didn't change his feelings for her. He was pretty sure masturbating while crying was one of the steps in the grieving process. The third one. That sounded right. He looked up from the phone to make sure none of the glampers were out for a stroll on the gravel road. He quickly shimmied his slacks down to mid-thigh and wrapped 2 fingers around his shaft. Neil replayed Ivy's words in his head, turning her hatefulness into wrist rocket fuel. He brought the phone closer to his face and dragged his tongue across the screen. Neil watched his saliva run down. Something else was on the screen, though. He squinted at it, but didn't want to break his rhythm. Then he stopped completely. It was the reflection of someone outside the window. He was too close to stop. He turned his head, praying that it wasn't a cop. It wasn't. "Open up!" Nina whisper-shouted as she clacked the mushroom-shaped door knocker again. "Becca, it's me! Open the door!" "Nina?" Becca said from behind her. Nina jumped and spun around. "Don't do that! Why are you outside so late?" "Because I'm not 7?" Becca said questioningly. "It's only like 8:30. "Which is really damn late," Nina continued in a whisper. "Especially when there's a creepy-ass backpacker lurking around." "Creepy backpacker?" "Shh! Yes! And he's fucking huge! It's probably some frat douche come to play Hostess Factory with Ivalis. What do you think? Twinkie or Honey Bun?" "That bitch is definitely a ho-ho," Nina said. "This guy didn't look like a college student, though." "What did he look like?" "A giant with a backpack." Nina threw her hands in the air. "I don't know. I couldn't see him very well. He just didn't look right. And he was dragging something, too, I think." "Try not to," Becca shrugged. "Working out great for Daff." "Shit, there's Sasha," Nina hissed. "We have to warn her." "There's nothing to..." It was too late. Nina was already sprinting after the house president. Sasha walked unsteadily across the white rocks in a pair of black and gold slides that matched her robe. A designer toiletry bag swung from her wrist while her other hand was busy with the THC pen she was puffing on. Nina slid through the gravel and caught hold of Sasha's robe. "We can't be out here," she whispered. "Nina!" Sasha rapped her knuckles with the vape. "This is an $1,800 robe. There is a Wait, are you shitting me?" Nina eyed Sasha up and down. "Bit like wrapping a McChicken in $100 bill." "Bitch." Sasha looked over Nina's shoulder at the approaching Becca. "What's up?" "Nina saw some guy out hiking," Becca explained. "A big fucking guy," Nina corrected her. "Okay. And?" Sasha gestured at the Stardust court. "Greta looks great for her age, but she's still ancient. It's probably the groundskeeper or whatever. My dad has like 3 of them and he's only 50. No biggie." "I don't think it's the lawn guy," Nina said. "Whatever, girl. I gotta get a shower and get my notes in order so we can get all the work done quickly instead of wasting our entire spring break." But the guy, Nina started. If I see him, I'll point him towards Daphne. She likes big and dumb. Sasha took another pull from the pen. And she'll settle for just one or the other. Besides, she probably wants to show off Greta's makeover. Come on, Nina. Becca tugged at her arm. I got some ideas for you anyways. Greta walked along the prep table, examining the chubby, middle-aged corpse. There wasn't much of the face left, and his jaw hung attached only by the torn, meaty cheeks. At least it wasn't one of the girls, but this is still reckless, she scolded. Her brother gave a disgruntled growl. I know what I said, but we can't just snatch the first fat pervert you find. Greta flicked the tiny, flaccid penis. Still, I'm sure he didn't tell anyone he was coming out here to spy on young girls. Her brother's deformed hand passed over the man's phone. Greta looked at it, and then the dead man. Let's hope it doesn't need Face ID. Luckily, it opened with his thumbprint. Greta scrolled backwards through the nude photos. Most were just close-ups of various body parts, but then she got to one with a face. She squeezed the phone and took a deep breath. There was a squeal of anticipation. Greta nodded and showed him the picture of Ivalise. New plan, she said. Kill this tramp and dump her body in his trunk. We make tomorrow seem like his work. While the cops search for this degenerate, their wives will be at home, washing up with soap made from his lard. Sasha lathered her body with the soap Greta provided. She took her time, letting the therapeutic aromas work their way up to her nose. The bar glided smoothly, leaving a refreshing minty tingle in its wake. Dua Lipa sang in her earbuds, and Sasha let herself get lost in her own stoned, aromatic little world. She was oblivious to the door opening and someone entering the showers with her. She felt the tug on her hair, and her heart skipped a beat. But then she sagged and giggled. I guess lesson 1 was a success, she said. The hand moved to the back of her neck and squeezed, eliciting a gasp. Her guest pushed her forward, pressing her against the tile wall. Sasha chewed her lip. You are a very fast learner. As your house president, it is my job to serve the needs of the sorority sisters. She moaned excitedly. Tell me what you need. Make me serve you. The hand traced down Sasha's spine through the soap suds. She shuddered but was held firmly in place. God damn, she whimpered. We need to give you margaritas more often. Sasha was surprised by how assertive Becca was being, but more so, how strong the weed cartridge was. It felt like a third hand was stroking her cheek.
If you thought that was scary, just you wait. Weekly Spooky will be right back.
As fingers followed the suds down between her buttocks and others traced along her ear, she realized there actually were 3 hands. She reached for the one at her neck. It was lumpy, with large, misshapen knuckles and growths along its fingers. Sasha twisted and the hand shoved her face harder against the tile. The third hand moved from her cheek. Its long, slender fingers seemed to connect straight to the warty wrist. She tried to scream when the hand forced itself into her mouth. Its fingers stretched down the back of her throat. Vomit spurted around the arm as it went deeper. Sasha's throat spasmed around the hand, and its owner shrieked with wild pleasure. He shoved it in further, splitting her cheeks as her jaw snapped from its hinges. The attacker jerked his hand back, ripping her throat out from the inside. Sasha slumped to the floor. Her killer took the phone from his pocket and used the severed thumb to open it to the last picture. He held it next to Sasha's face for confirmation. He growled in frustration. Greta would be pissed. A happy shriek cheered him up. If it wasn't the girl from the photograph, that meant she still needed killing. As long as she died, it wouldn't matter how many times he was mistaken. The more bodies the police found in the car, the more likely they were to believe the pervert killed the rest of the sorority girls. It was time to kill them all. Ivaless snorted another line of coke and checked her messages. She'd told everyone about Binderman's stupid ass. She checked all the notifications, but Daphne still hadn't messaged her back, or even opened the text. Damn, is that old bitch giving you a makeover or a facelift? She opened each of her social platforms, checking the latest engagement numbers on her last post, then went to Nina's pages to see how they stacked up. As usual, Nina was in the lead on all of them. Except one. Ivy stomped her feet excitedly. She screenshotted it and then went back to hers and did the same. "Look who's on top, Downs," she said as she sent the pics to Nina. "DEI don't give a fuck about your chromosomes." Ivy sniffed up the stray granules and laughed at her wittiness. Her phone chimed with a text. "That's X, bitch. Red hats and limp dicks. Congrats." The last word exploded in a spray of confetti for emphasis. Ivy scowled at the phone. Before she could come up with a snappy retort, the door was torn from its hinges. It banged noisily across the yard, and the giant lumbered into the trailer. Ivalise began hyperventilating. He hunkered to fit beneath the 6-foot ceiling. His misaligned jaw stretched down to his shoulder, where it fused into the back of a growth sprouting strands of blonde hair. The giant shifted to squeeze through the sleeping quarters, turning the tumors towards Ivy. She crawled backwards across the bed. It wasn't a tumor at all. Its milky, lidless gray-blue eyes fixed on her and opened a mouth of its own to let out a high-pitched screech of excitement. Ivy looked around for an escape, a weapon, a chance. The bestial man tore the head from the suit of armor and hurled it at Ivy. It crashed through the window behind her. Glass showered down her negligee, snapping her out of her paralysis. The two heads exchanged inarticulate vocalizations. Ivy flipped over the window frame, bouncing off the trailer hitch and crashing onto her knees. Glass and rocks cut into her flesh. She pressed herself up and ran for the western trailer. "Daphne, open the door, bitch!" she screamed. "Daphne, now!" She started banging on the door with both fists, but Daphne still didn't answer. "For fuck's sake, someone help me!" A cloud of bong smoke poured out of one of the trailers, and Ivy saw Nina stumble outside. Becca followed after her. Of course, they were the ones that came to her rescue. She bolted toward them, chancing a quick look back at the lumbering monster. "Oh shit!" Nina screamed. "That's the backpacker!" "It's not a fucking backpack!" Ivy shouted. A gunshot boomed, and Ivy's leg exploded. She slid face first through the pristine white rocks. Another shot sent the others running back into the glamper for cover. "God damn it, Lars!" Greta shouted. "You did this, you little deviant! Braun, you know better than to listen to him. Now we have to kill them all." Braun reached up and high-fived his brother's spindly hand. Now they were getting exactly what they wanted. He stomped across the yard, kicking decorations out of his way as he pursued the crawling Ivalise. He grabbed her ankle and jerked her backwards hard. Too hard. The ravaged leg tore in half, and he stumbled away, staring at the buckshot-peppered stump. He laughed in great, heaving chuckles before using the limb to club Ivy between the shoulders. Lars squealed, sending his brother instructions through their shared synaptic connections. Braun lifted the sorority girl by the hair and dragged her to the nearest lawn gnome. Ivy's teeth scraped down the long, painted cap. She squirmed and clawed at the earth. Braun shoved down. The gnome burst through the back of her skull. Her hair draped over its chubby body like a funeral shroud. Lars always had the best plans.
Are you afraid? Good. Weekly Spooky will be right back.
Nina and Becca clung to each other inside the glamper. Above the entrance, a banner stretched between two mushrooms. "There's no place like home," it read. Nina never thought she'd want to go back to that place, but it definitely beat a trailer park troll and his gun-happy granny. "What now?" Becca asked. "I don't know." Nina shook her head, freeing up a shiver that continued down her entire body. She watched the residual pot smoke swirling up and disappearing from the room. She followed the wispy tendrils through a curtain that concealed the bathroom. The exhaust fan whirring overhead sucked the pungent smoke outside. Nina tore down the curtain rod and climbed onto the toilet. "What are you doing?" Becca asked. "Grab your phone, call the cops, and get ready to move." "Move where?" "Outside." Buckshot blasted through the wall, shattering a cabinet beyond. Greta shouted to the beast in German. Her voice drew nearer. Nina aimed the rod at the corner of the fan and thrust it up, cracking the plastic housing. "Greta is pissed," Becky told her. "She said something about that thing not following orders. She said they were only supposed to kill the whore." "Of course this is Ivy's fault." Nina banged on the fan again, freeing the first corner. The monster outside slammed a fist against the front door. Becca screamed and started to sob. "It's okay," Nina lied. "Have you gotten the police?" "They put me on hold." What in the Mayberry fuck? Nina went to work on the next corner. It shattered on the first blow. "You have to get up and be ready to run." Another hard thrust, and the fan came tumbling down. It swung from its cord, and the blade nipped Nina's shirt on the way down. She put her foot on the back of the toilet and pulled herself onto the roof, then stuck her head back through. "Becca, now!" Another gunshot tore through the glamper. "You don't have to die, Fräulein," Greta barked. "Come outside. You saw the connection we had this afternoon." "Becca, move your ass!" Nina shouted. Becca came to the bathroom and stared wide-eyed at the fan swinging wildly. She grabbed the cord and held it away from her as she mounted the toilet seat. Nina stretched and grabbed her under the arms. Becca pulled on the ledge when the trailer rocked violently. The fan whipped close to her leg, and her foot slipped into the toilet. Becca fell back, cracking her ankle. The beast outside rammed into the trailer again. The fan chopped over Becca's head. Another hard charge, and the door caved in. Greta slipped through the crack and found Becca cowering on the floor. Nina was still leaning through the opening. Greta whipped the shotgun to her shoulder and fired. Nina jerked herself clear in the nick of time, toppling off the roof with a shriek. "The other one is around back. Go!" Greta ordered. She leaned the shotgun on the wall and knelt in front of Becca. "You're safe now. You can be, I mean. All you have to do is help me with your friends tomorrow." "What?" What do you mean? When they arrive, I need you to get them in the pool. You're the filmmaker. They will listen. Get them into the water. Greta pulled what looked like a life alert collar from her blouse. My brothers wired it to generators. I click the button, and it'll be over in a moment. Then we can harvest them. Harvest? Becca choked, trying to keep the scream inside. Are you cannibals? Oh, no, dear. We are not primitives. Greta laughed. It's not my makeup that's special. It's my soap. That's the age-defying miracle that we've created here. My father was the Führer's top biologist. He began his research in twins, but as you have seen from Braun and Lars, it was not his specialty. They sent him to Danzig, where he developed the formula from the fat of the prisoners. It works, as you have seen, not just on the surface, but it cleanses the body deep into the organs and washes away years like mere germs. You're going to kill Delta Phi. Becca pulled herself onto the toilet. So you can stay young? Of course not. I was born in Germany, but I am an American now. I'm going to kill them to make a ton of money, Greta said, pointedly. Becca thought about what Sasha had told her. She needed to take charge. She needed to find what Greta couldn't lose and take it. Help me with your friends, Greta said. You don't have to die. No, but you do. Becca swung the fan at the beautiful old woman. It pulled her golden curls around its spindle, dragging her face into its blades. Blood coated the small alcove. Becca held Greta by a fistful of hair and pressed the fan in harder. Pieces of her face splattered against the walls and slid down like snails until the blades buried between her teeth and burned out its motor. Becca snatched the remote from Greta's neck. Good luck washing that off, you Nazi bitch. Nina ran around the court, weaving between the trailers and trying to create space between her and the pursuing Siamese twins. Their father's eugenics experiments hadn't been a complete failure. Despite their deformities, they were a nearly perfect physical specimen. Braun swiped his massive hand at the girl, catching her hair and snapping her to the ground. He knelt, giving his little brother access to their victim. Then, Greta's shotgun barked back. Lars disappeared in a spray of bone and pink mist. A single piece of his skull remained, still fused to Braun's jaw. Becca pumped the weapon and steadied her aim. She fired again, striking the giant in the chest. He stumbled backwards. Another blast sent the monster down onto his back, crushing the malformed remains of his brother. Blood poured into the pool from the caldera of Lars' broken skull. Becca used the shotgun as a crutch to hob to Nina's side. They held on to each other all the way to Sasha's Range Rover. Nina went inside for the keys and came back out, quickly. You think the cops are still busy? She asked. Donuts are half price at Gas and Grub after 9 p.m., Becca told her. We're on our own till morning. They climbed into the SUV. There was no point in going to look for the others. The police would find them later. They backed out of the parking pad and onto the path away from the Stardust court when a lawn chair crashed through the back window. The girls looked behind them to see Braun staggering closer. Nina threw the shifter into reverse and punched the gas. The SUV crashed into the giant, launching him into the pool. Becca wrestled Greta's controller from her pocket. Time to smash that like button, motherfucker! The pool sparked with a sudden surge of electricity. Braun thrashed about in violent convulsions. Electricity flashed in bright arcs from the buttons on his clothes. The generators overloaded and exploded somewhere nearby. Braun's body floated on the surface. His blackened flesh smoked in the cool air. "I guess that's how you make sauerkraut," Nina said. "Let's get out of here." Nina hit the gas, throwing a spray of pristine white gravel into the air. They drove past Binderman's car, but didn't bother stopping. It wasn't the weirdest thing they'd seen all night. There was a gassing grub a few miles away, and they were sure they'd find a cop there. Stale donuts didn't sound bad either. They stayed silent, just happy to be alive, and didn't dare chance a look in the mirror back at the Stardust court. Maybe they should have. Maybe they would have seen the mauled face of Greta Spitz sitting in the back seat. All right, my spookies, I hope you enjoyed yet another very disturbing story from our good buddy David O'Hanlon. Maybe it's made you all set to head out into the great outdoors and celebrate your spring break. But I hope that's not what you got from the story. Although, hey, who am I to say if you misinterpret it? Thank you so much for joining us here at Weekly Spooky. I do hope you enjoyed the story as much as I enjoyed telling it. And if you love what we're doing, please consider supporting us. There are almost 100 spookies currently supporting us directly to help me bring the spooky on the weekly for another nearly 6 years to come, if the crick don't rise. So head over to weeklyspooky.com/join. For as little as $1 a month, you get bonus episodes every 2 weeks and over 5 years of back catalog of creepypasta readings, audiobooks, and so much more. In fact, right now, over at weeklyspooky.com/join, we are heading into the last chapter of The April Fool, Rob Field's latest novel based in the Strickfield universe. And I want to say an extra special thank you to our Patreon podcast boosters, folks who pay just a little bit more to hear their name at the end of the show. And they are Kate and Lulu, Jessica Fuller, Johnny Nix, Jenny Green, Amber Hansford, Brent McCullough, Karen Wiemet, Jack Kerr, and Craig Cohen. Thank you all so much from the bottom of my heart. I really do appreciate it. And if you want to hear your name at the end of the show, just head on over to weeklyspooky.com/join and choose a $15 a month or higher pledge on Patreon. It really does make a huge difference, and I appreciate your support, but now I have to get back to it. There's so much more, so many more horror stories to tell, so many more terrifying intrudes to come on the next few Mondays. So I've got to get back to it. For myself, for my executive producers, Rob Fields, Mark Shields, and Bobbletopia.com, my producer, Dan Wilder, and of course, my composer, Ray Mattis, I will be talking at you very, very soon.
Thank you for listening. Make sure to find your way back next week. But for now, you are safe. Trust me.